When designing a resume, most people just reach for a template in Microsoft Word. While this sometimes can be a good option, personally, I like to design it myself. I find that this lets my resume stick out from others, and it also gives me the flexibility to design it the way that I want it to look. In this video, I will show you how you can design a simple, sleek, and modern resume. Please join me. In this video, I'm going to teach you how to create a resume similar to the one before you. This is actually my resume that I've used before. Before we begin designing though, I'd like to point out a couple features and draw your eyes to a couple things. Very first thing that we're going to be creating is our heading. And of course, the thing that should stand out the most is your name. So that's going to be the largest font. But if you notice, we do use a consistent font throughout, though sometimes we change colors and sizes. The next thing to draw your attention to are the categories. So here's where I can list my experience. If I scroll down, you'll see my education and certification and my other accomplishments. Before beginning your design, you want to determine what categories you want on your resume. After that, within each category, this is where I get to specifics. So for instance, under experience, this is where I list my work experience. And you'll notice that I have it formatted all the same for each one of my jobs. I start with my title. On the right hand side, in line with my job title, I have the dates that I worked there. Below my job title, I have the place where I worked. And then below that, I have bullet points detailing what I did in that job. And you'll notice it's the same format and same style for each different job that I've had. Now, when it comes to the other categories, I had to be a little bit different, but mostly my formatting is the same. So under education, I listed my colleges in bold, and on the same line my dates. Because technically I didn't have a job title, I left that out. And then below that I just listed which degrees I earned. And the same is true under other accomplishments. We know which features are going to be in our resume. We're almost ready to design. But first we need to do a little bit of prep work. First order of business is that we need to set our margins. So we need to go to Layout, and then you'll see the left and right margins. Personally, I think 1 1/4 on the left and right is just way too much. So at the very minimum, I would set that down to 1 inch all around. Next, let's talk about font. Font is very important. You want a nice modern font. For instance, ones that I like could include Arial or Helvetica. For this presentation, I'm going to choose margins and the font chosen. We have one more little piece of prep work to do. Looking at my resume, you'll notice that I have very straight lines. Here on the left-hand side, all items are lined up. You can take a ruler and you will find it to be perfectly straight. On the right-hand side where I put my dates, and I put my dates over here to maximize use of white space, you'll also notice that it's perfectly lined up. You can take a ruler. I've often seen people try to use the space bar to get items over here on the right-hand side. That is very foolhardy, and you'll find that your lines will not be straight in this case. Instead, I would like you to use the tab tool up here. Here's how it works. For our resume, we're going to have to set a right tab. By default, the tab that's set is a left tab. So when you click up here, that's what you get. That's not going to be any good for us. And if you accidentally click up there and get a tab that you don't want, to get rid of it, all you need to do is click on it, grab it, and slide it off the ruler. So let's choose our right tab. And then you're going to click on the ruler about where you want it. and then slide it into place. In my case, I would like it all the way at the end. And now we have a right tab set, and when I press the tab key, you'll see how that works. It jumps all the way over to the right side, and everything that I type will be lined up with that right-hand tab. At this point, our prep work is done, and we can now start adding content. We are, of course, going to start with our name and our header. So I'm going to click at the top of the screen to get the header tab. And the most important part of a resume is, of course, your name. So I'm going to make that the biggest item on the list. So I'm going to change that font to about 20 or 22. I'm going to bolden it. And here's also a good opportunity if you'd like to add a little bit of color. Now, you don't have to add color. You can keep it black and white. If you do add color, be very conservative, and I would choose dark, easily read colors, so no yellows or anything like that. So I like green, so I chose a nice dark green that can stand out. And I'm going to put my name first. And then I'm going to return down to the next line. And this is where I'm going to enter my contact information. However, that contact information should not be as big as your name. So I need to adjust my font again. And I'm going to make my contact information pretty much the same size and style as my body font. So I'm going to turn off the bold. I'm going to bring it back down to 11. I'm going to make that my body font size. I'm also going to take away the color and go back to black here. I'm going to start with my address. Now, I type my address, and I want to now put my phone number here. However, for me, I have a lot of information on my resume, and if I return down again, that's just taking up space for me that I don't need to be taking up when I have all this nice white space here on the right. So instead of using the return key, I'm going to use a symbol that's on your keyboard called a stovepipe, which is just a straight up and down line. And I really like that symbol. It is a great way to divide information. So next, let's enter my phone number. I'm done with my phone number. Now I'm going to put in another stovepipe. And last thing, I'm going to enter my email address. Now you see what happens here. Word recognizes that you are entering an email address, and by default, it hyperlinks it. Well, keep in mind, when you apply for a job, you're not going to hand this in electronically. You're instead going to be handing in a paper copy. So this just looks out of place. This blue font and underlined email address, and it's actually very unprofessional. So one thing that we absolutely have to do is remove this hyperlink. So if you right click on that, go down to hyperlink, and then edit hyperlink, you have the option here to remove the link. Please, please, please do that. I cannot stress that enough. Since my header is now complete, I'm now ready to create the body of my resume. First things first, we have to make our categories. The categories should stand out, not as much as your name, but they should probably be the next biggest thing on your resume. So first I'm going to change the size. So my body is 11, my name was 20. I'm going to settle in with the categories at around 14 or 16. So I'll choose 14. Here also, if you wish, is another good opportunity to add a little bit of color. Again, you can keep it black and white, or you can add a color. I'm going to make this a little bit different than my name. I'm going to choose a dark orange for this. And I'm going to type out all my categories one after another. So let's start with experience. And I do want these to be in bold. Next, we'll go with education. And then I'll do other accomplishments. This is the order that I choose. You don't necessarily have to choose this order as well. Now that I have my categories, I can start filling out each and every one of these categories. So let's start with experience. I'm going to return twice to leave a space. And then I need to change my font back down to size 11. I'm going to keep it bold. I'm going to put, if you remember, this is where I'm going to put my job title and the dates that I work. So I left that in bold. And I'm going to change back the color, and I'm going to make it the same dark green that I used my name. If you do choose to use color, make sure I would recommend only using a maximum of 2 different shades. So let's start. Let's put in my current job title. Now that I have my job title, I'm going to want to put in the dates that I worked. And if you remember from earlier, we have this already set up with our right tab here. So all I have to do is press the tab key and it'll jump me over all the way to the right hand side, and I can put in my dates. So here I have all in one line my job title and the dates that I worked this. Underneath, I would like to put the location of where I worked. So this does not need to be bold. And you do want to be kind of selective with what you make bold and what you make stand out. If you bolden everything, then nothing really stands out. So we'll put the Career Magnet School. I can still keep some color here if I wish, or again, all black. And I'm going to specify where the Career Magnet School is. I'm going to use my stovepipe again. Now on this line, this is where I list what I did with this job, or what I do with this job. So, since this is truly my body, I need to, this I do want in black. So I'm going to switch that from a dark green back to black. And I'm going to use just very simple bullet points, just these dots. And we'll have a couple descriptions. After this, after I'm done with listing my job responsibilities, I'm going to return down, and then I'm going to list another job following the same format. And I'm going to do this for each category. And again, depending on the category, you might have to modify it a little bit. So for instance, when I talk about my education, I'm not necessarily going to have a job title, but I will have a school and a location. So that I'm going to make bold and in the same dark green. And maybe I make my degree in black. And so on.